everyone. Welcome to the Stockton Holistic Chamber of Commerce podcast. Today we have Yemaya Searcy, owner of The Light Within. She has lots of businesses and lots of endeavors, so we're going to get to know her a bit more and what she's up to and all that. So welcome, Yemaya.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, I don't even know where to start. You got lots of projects going on. Let's start with we want everyone to come to the mixer that's at your office next
Yes,
Tuesday,
yes.
October 22nd at 6 p.m. in St. Mark's Plaza in Stockton. And we have a soft start at 5:30. So it's going to be mixer friendly. Bring business cards, bring what you're doing. We're excited to have this. It's fun. Yemaya has a great office venue. And I don't know, do you want to say something about that?
I don't want to give away too much because I think they should
Right.
come and see it for themselves.
Yes.
But the energy is phenomenal. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes. You have lots of different energy devices and things at your office that I think people would be interested to take a look at.
Yes.
All right, cool. So, how did you get into the holistic side of things?
Oh, so originally, there's been pieces of it in my family. So I remember being 6, 7 years old, smudging our house, and it was an every Friday thing. I had to do it with herbs and smudge. And so I thought that was just normal until my teenager years when people started coming over and they'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Doesn't everyone do this?" Right? And then we used a lot of herbs for healing, right? So if you had a stomach ache, you didn't take Pepto-Bismol, you took chamomile and peppermint and rue tea. If you had a headache, you used lavender, things like that. And so little bit goes way, way back. And then I would say me jumping all the way in started about 2006 or 7 when I was doing club promotions. And I was a hot-blooded Latina. That's all I'm gonna leave it there. And thanks to a Reiki master, I learned techniques. I became a Reiki master myself. I learned techniques to be able to live a far more Zen-filled life. And that just snowballed into me learning how it is in the holistic arena. One more thing, and one more thing, and one more thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just reading in your book. Where is it? Oh, here it is.
It looks like you reached out from the ocean and grabbed it. I love it.
So I just was reading your chapter the other day and I was like, okay, yeah, like, all right. And also, like, you're a great writer. Like, it has great cadence and
Thank you.
like just a nice, clean, easy message for many different people from many walks of life to follow. So,
Yes.
like, I was like, yeah, I like that. So now I'm like,
Awesome.
okay, where's the next book? And then I'm like, when am I going to finish my damn books?
I know. What I loved about writing that book, I was a co-author, and the person who was running the show didn't give us a lot of time to think. It was like bam, deadline, bam, deadline, bam, deadline. And so I loved it because if you know me, I am a little ADHD and it kept me on, oh shoot, I got to do this. Oh shoot, I got to do this. And so it also got me out of my head about how or what to write. And so I actually have been mentally writing chapters now. I just got to get it
Nice.
in the computer. Yeah.
That we talked about this before. That's where voice record yourself, put in Chat GPT,
Yes.
get the text from it, and then you can edit the text like how you want. Because I've done some AI writing and I've done my own writing. It just comes through different when you do it, you
It
know?
does.
But I'm all for AI, especially with if you have all these thoughts all over the place.
Yes.
It's bring them together, outline them, and then write what you want to say.
Yeah, it was really funny because I wrote something for my uncle's funeral recently, and then I wanted to just fine tune it, so I threw it into Chat GPT, and it only changed like 3 words, and I was like, "Yes, I'm a good writer." So yeah.
I'm in this human design group for human design sleep design now, and this
Mm,
lady posted this thing to ask to Chat GPT, and I thought it was super interesting because I know you have the premium account, right?
yes.
Yeah. So check this out. From all of our interactions, what is one thing that you can tell me about yourself that I may not know about myself? And when you put that in, and it like ChatGPT reflects back to you a summary kind of what you interact with ChatGPT on,
Okay.
It was really cool and interesting for me. It was like um, connector of worlds, empathetic leadership, resilient problem solver, innovative thinker, community builder. And I was like, yeah, I
I
feel
love
all
that.
those. I'm like,
Yeah.
so now I'm curious what it comes up with for you.
You'll have to send that to me so I
I
can,
will.
yeah,
I will.
it'll
Yeah,
be
someone
interesting.
post. I'll. You know what? I'll post it in the Holistic Chamber Facebook group, and then everybody can put it in there.
Ooh, awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
Then we can intro everyone like that at each meeting.
Oh, I like that idea because I definitely want to meet with you next week to talk about what we want to do at the mixer. Because
Okay.
I want to set it up, you and I getting everything the way you want it, or I want it, or together how we want it, and having people come in and have a good time and just have a nice vibe. You know what I mean?
Yes. And then now you're still coming early to do the hair follicle testing.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to come early on that day and do hair follicle testing. I'll put the link down below for people to pre-book spots. Um,
Perfect.
yeah, I know you wanted to do yours too.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
the I haven't done the dogs and cats yet, but I did pre-order the credits because I'm gonna
Mm,
do Momo because she just had blood work done at the vet when she had a skin tag removed. And
okay.
so her liver enzymes came up that she needed a little support there. And I want to
Oh,
see what the hair follicle test says to line it with the blood data.
okay.
The
That'll be
scientist in
interesting.
me is always interested in this stuff. And then the woo side of me is like, oh, how can we like put this all together and let's see what happens? And then
Right.
checking the data and then materializing kind of our ideas. So that's been a big theme for me, for all of us. So I'm looking
Yes.
forward to doing that.
I love it.
Yeah. So let's see. Most recently, I know what you're up to, but most other people don't know everything you're up to.
Right.
You're a realtor and you're a healer. In my mind, you're healing realty. That's what I keep saying. Uh,
Yes.
I love what you're doing with all that. And then most recently, you're opening up and running some sober living experiences. So sober living
Perfect.
houses. Yeah.
Yes.
Did you want to talk a little bit about those now?
Sure. So I'm partnering up with someone and we're going to assist in running the two houses that already exist. So those are all men. And then we were going to open up a new house and it was going to be all males, but after really thinking about it, we have and just talking to people, we have found that there's a huge need for women's housing. There's not a lot of people that do women's housing. And so we decided as a team, think 2 days ago, we're gonna go ahead and make it all women's.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's super exciting. Our schedule open date is November 3rd. So literally windows are being put in, another bathroom is getting put in. We've painted the walls, of course, my favorite color, which is a teal and a soft mint for the entryway. Yeah, so we're really excited and I think that this is gonna be a big change and a big help for the community. Just helping people stay sober, it's so important. I know I have a personal journey with sobriety, and I know in my family there's been some things that happened, and so it's very personal to me getting this off the ground.
That's awesome. So we're on October 15th, so we're talking a little more than 2 weeks away. So
Yes, so
that's pretty
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
actually going to Hollywood this weekend to take full on training for it.
oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so I'll be there all weekend and really getting immersed in the whole process. So
And then you'll be back for the mixer.
and then I'll be back just in time for the mixer. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, so I think I've heard from women in this area too in sobriety journeys that like just having a place for women to heal is really nice. And then there's been some talk about like when women can do some healing, then men can see that and then men can join in the healing too. So it's been interesting about seeing how people heal in community. And that's one big thing about the Stockton Holistic Chamber of Commerce was having a place in Stockton for people that are healers to come together. Because what I've
Yes.
noticed is there's little fractions and different groups everywhere, and that's cool, but like how do you bring that fractal line back in to like where it started? And it's okay, let's get everybody together, let's have a mixer, who's doing what that way. Because another business networking organization, it's like you only can have one person doing one thing.
Right.
But like in our group, we have several people that are energy healers. They each have their own unique approach to it because they have their own unique life experiences. And
Absolutely. And I also believe that not everyone resonates with everyone else, right? And so you might have three Reiki masters, but you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And that's okay because people's frequencies are going to match. So that's what I love about our group is that we can have multiple people and it's not competitive.
yeah, well, it's like shifting the conversation to collaboration. Like
Absolutely.
like right now we have one acupuncturist, and I'm actually going to see the other acupuncturist soon for something else, and I was going to talk to him if he wants to join. Because like each person has like a different style. Persimmon is community acupuncture. Uh,
Hmm.
Dr. Lee does more of one-on-one stuff and spends quite a bit more times, but it's like everybody has a different style and a mission and vision, what they're doing and why they're doing it. So it's
Yeah.
like, how can we refer people to where they would feel like a good fit? Like, for instance, I haven't done Reiki with you yet, but
Hmm.
I want to. It just hasn't lined up yet, but I've done other
Right.
things with you. Like, we've done like cord cutting ceremony, we've done like
Yes.
meditations, we've done some energy things in your office that you can show everybody later
Yes.
because I don't want to give away all the secrets.
Right.
So it's like just finding these things and finding the timing and planning these different events. Like you have a really cool venue. We've been talking about doing like holistic pop-up where like
Yes.
people can come through. And you said this at the Sacramento Goddess Festival. We all got our booths ready, and then we saw everybody had so much amazing stuff, and we're like, okay, next time we're gonna come early. We're gonna set up early, and then we're gonna go shop.
Yes, exactly.
And now I'm like, okay, how do we bring that into doing something holistic wise in with our group? It's like a craft fair, but like a holistic, maybe a holistic holiday fair or something where we're all doing stuff and everybody's coming to support each other and buy stuff.
Yes. So I did talk to the owners here at the
Oh,
plaza,
nice.
and they said as long as I get okay from, the other businesses here, just because there's an event center and we don't want to step on toes. And then there's a new, I'm not actually sure what they do. I got to go talk to them, but I think they hold church here or something. But right now it's looking like the best time would be a Sunday. So I'm just dropping that little nugget.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's good to know. Thank you for the heads
You're
up.
welcome.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's something we do after the farmer's market.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like I was talking with other members,
Mhm.
DL Whitaker of the colon hydrotherapy, and John with the microgreens, Zesty Farms, about like how do we get this all together in the holiday time frame? Because what's funny about Christmas and holidays is I don't know about you, but I spend the most money on myself.
I'm so glad that you say that because I sometimes feel selfish, but I'm literally like, oh, one for you, one for me, whatever it is, one for you, one for me. And I'm like, this is definitely only child syndrome stuff, but it's okay. I forgive myself.
I don't know. I don't know if it's even only child thing. I have brothers, and
Mm,
I think it just comes down to you're in the moment of you want to give, right? Some people
yeah,
really like to give, some people really like to receive, some people like both, and there's different times in our life where we're more in a position to give or more in a position to receive, and it's like
right.
it's fun, right? Right?
Yes,
So it's, oh yeah, oh I want this pen, but like I could get this pen for Yemaya, and then we could write journals together, and then it's like
right.
you're in this like creative flow, and that's why I'm saying like for this holistic holiday pop-up, like I want it to be like fun. I want people to like I want to see like energetic money moving all around.
Yes. And that's so important because I want to touch on that real quick is that there's such an imbalance where people think spirituality and abundance don't commingle, but they do, right? Spirit doesn't want us to be broke, for one. And two, how can you mentor someone if you're not in a place like how can you mentor someone and teach them abundance if you're not in a place of abundance, right? How can you mentor and teach someone and heal someone with, let's say, Reiki, if you're not in a place of good health? And I'm not saying everyone doesn't have ebbs and flow because that's nature. Even leaves die, right? And then come back to life. But we don't have to be broke healers. There's so much money in the community. There's so many opportunities for abundance that we can help each other. We can support each other. I know I've supported some of your endeavors, you've supported some of mine, and that goes on with other healers. I know other healers have referred to me and I've referred out. And I just think that's a huge message that I want to keep pounding into the community, that we don't have to have this negative stigma of, oh, we're in the valley, or oh, we're in Stockton. No, we are abundant beings of light. We are divine creatures, and let's just manifest whatever the heck we want.
Yeah, it's, oh, you're in Stockton. Like,
Right.
goddamn, we're in Stockton. Let's show you some culture and let's like go have some good food and like community and talk to people and make things happen.
Yeah. And I will say, I have people come to me from Oakland. I have people come to me from all over the Bay, from LA, from Arizona, and some of them are healers themselves. So I feel like that says something, that people are coming here to our community, not just to see me, but to see other healers. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, let's change this. Let's change the perception and make us magical.
Yeah, like just how do you change the narrative just a little bit at a time, right?
Yep.
And like leading by example and like honoring our gifts and skills and talents. And that's where I like the referral thing too. There's things I do that I'm like, I could do that, but this other person I think would really be a better fit for what you're doing
Right.
right
Yes.
now. And so I really like that about our group. And some of us are already putting together bundles with each other of like, how do you make a package deal? If you brought up a great point. If you're doing Reiki for someone, where are you getting that energy from? And sometimes healers like give so much that they end up with health opportunities. And it's okay, how do we clear out that energy blockage, energy sludge, energy leaks, or
Yes.
money leaks, or money sludge, so that we can give from a place of abundance and not lack? And what's interesting too is you were talking to me about Bashar and some of the things that he was doing. And one of my friends, Dice, he said, you don't have lack. What you really have is you're seeing an abundance of lack.
Right.
And I was like, oh
Right.
damn. Oh. So it's like, how do you tap into the abundance? And it's
Yes.
really just by being abundant, by being yourself, like tapping into your gifts, everything that people told you to hide or put away, or that's weird or whatever. And it's the more weird I be, the more I be me, the more
Right.
things come around me that feel aligned. And I'm like, wait, who sold us this bucket of lies?
No, 1000%. Many of the things that I do now were things that I used to hide and say I didn't know how to do, or people said I was weird or a witch or whatever. And now people pay me to be weird. And I'm like, bring it on.
You mean you guys get paid for this? Like
I'm
that?
oh wait, I get to be me and I get money? Okay. Yeah.
Well, one of my coaches online from a few months back did this thing where she wrote down in her notes on her phone every day she got paid money,
Mm,
like energetic money for whatever it was.
okay.
I'm like, okay. So I started doing it, and I'm like, if I sold a hair follicle test, or if I sold some supplements, or got reoccurring revenue, or got people in courses for quitters, or my new one, courses for quintessence,
I
which is
love
like
it.
my top gene key life work. I'm like, ooh, I like this one. Yeah, all those things, I started adding it up. Or if someone like gave me eggs from their chickens, I wonder who did that.
Who would do that?
And I like, because if somebody gives you eggs, like nowadays, eggs are
Right.
like money. When
Right.
somebody gives you eggs from their plantation, you're like, damn, I'm rich. I'm abundant.
I love
So
it.
I wrote that down. I'm like, eggs from Yemaya. And
Yes.
I'm like, wait. And you start adding it up, and you're like, wait, like, I do feel abundant. Like,
Right.
and what's funny is sometimes your bank account might say not abundant. It doesn't look like it, but all other aspects in your life do feel abundant. And then
Yes.
Bashar said, if all other aspects align, are you not abundant? And I'm like,
Right.
ooh, wow. Ooh. And this came
Right.
in your book club that you're hosting now. You're hosting a book club of the book A Happy Pocket Full of Money.
Yes.
And that came up. So tell us, why did you start book club? How's it going? And what does that look like through the end of the year for book club?
Okay. So I started book club because I love learning. I feel like I don't care who you are, where you are in life, you should always learn something new, right? But if I sit there and try to read a book, because as you've probably been gathering, I have a lot on my plate, I'll sit down and I'll fall asleep, right? But I do love audiobooks. And lately I've been so busy that I haven't even been able to audiobook. So I thought if I put together a book club, then it gives me that obligation to be committed to the group and I have to
Uh,
get it done. But I did put it out there because I used to do all these events. I used to do full moon and new moon and cacao and right. And then I'll go through phases and I get burnt out and I stop for a while. And people kept saying, when are you going to do events again? When are you going to do events again? So I put a poll out there and I actually asked people, what do you guys want to see more of? You want to see new moon again, full moon again, book club? And everybody, the majority vote came back book club. So I was like, okay, we have a need. Let's fill it. So that's why I started book club. Now, as to why I chose A Happy Pocket Full of Money, I like, I've already have read the book, listened to it before. I liked how it talks about we are the creators of our reality, basically. I liked how it touches on quantum physics. And I felt like it was a really good starting place because again, I feel like so many people in Stockton have this lack mentality. And I figured if we can start there where it covers all the bases and we can get people into that abundance mentality, then from there, it will lead into health mentality, having good health, having it, I just feel like it was a good starting place for a domino effect. And then what I'll do is we'll put it out. I'll let other people pick titles going forward, and we'll just pick from a bucket, and that will be the next book. But what it looks like for the rest of the year is we're going to be meeting every other Monday. I believe we decided at 6 p.m. And then we've been rotating, bringing snacks. And we'll read a couple chapters. I have questions that I have outlined already. And then we just have great conversations based on those questions.
Now, you said some things that brought up a couple books that I thought of. Like DL recommended this book, something about like shifts. I
Oh,
can't remember the name of it. And then you said Domino, and there's a book called Domino Effect.
oh, okay.
But it's, you feel out with the group and what they want to do. I attended the last book club, and there was some really great conversation and some
Yes.
healing around it, really.
Yes.
And it was
Mm-hmm.
nice to see what everybody was saying. And I think that's where, like, your community said, hey, let's do a book club. And you're like, I think I'm going to do a book club. And I told you, I've been thinking about that too. And then,
Right.
like, all of a sudden, it just materialized. And so
Right.
that's what's cool with all the things that you're doing or I'm doing or we're doing is you have these ideas that are ethereal and you're like, yeah, one day. And then it's
Right.
like you have a little structure and some community of people and you're like, wait, this is happening. I think the first time you mentioned sober living houses was probably 9 months ago,
I think so.
maybe
Yeah.
6 to 9 months ago. And now it's like all of a sudden it's here. And it's not just here, oh, I'm doing a house. It's here. And like things are happening.
And at that time, it was never my vision to be so immersed in it, right? I just thought it was an amazing idea. I thought it was great for homeowners. I thought it was great for investors. I didn't see myself particularly in it, but being spirit led, it just kept coming back in my face, back in my face. And I was like, okay, spirit. And then an opportunity came with a person that had a home that we could use. And so we pulled together to create a partnership. And so it, I always say divine timing. And then you've taught me the word aligned action. And so it just comes to fruition in that way.
Like some other things that I really like about what you're doing with sober living is it's not just come in and then goodbye. It's what's the healing that's going on during that? What's the experience like? How does it look like integrated? How are they like letting go of like past things and honoring it and also stepping into like their full sovereignty and power for going forward? And particularly, like you said, in this community, like I've heard from many women, oh, it'd be great to have a sober living facility for women only, you know,
Right.
and boom, it's like right there.
And the beautiful thing is, I plan on bringing some of the tools that I use in my practice that people come and pay for, but I'll be volunteering and giving cord cutting sessions or chakra balancing, whatever people are open to, not imposing it, but if they're open, they can come on a certain night. And then I'll be opening that up to other healers that if they want to come and volunteer in the beginning, it'll be volunteer, but who knows what that can turn into down the road.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know. I like my wife went through a sober journey on herself like a few
Right.
different times, and it's like being being the supportive spouse or supportive partner or family. It's you don't really know sometimes how to support them, or oh, that's their shit and they're in a shame space, versus wait, like you could go to these kind of sessions and learn about like cord cutting, and you're like, oh, there's like a codependent cord here of like the addiction.
Right.
And it's okay. Like, how do you take care of your own self if you're like a caregiver, right?
So that's actually how I met Shelly. I don't know if you knew that, but Alicia used to have a series called Mind, Body, and Soul, and she would invite different healers from the community or different people to talk. And I did a cord cutting session. I think we were at Unity. I'm not 100% sure, but it was definitely Mind, Body, and Soul. And she
Nice.
invited Shelly, and that's where I initially met Shelly.
Oh, okay. I knew something like that, but like now I'm like, oh, okay. Now I can connect the dots.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit of where Shelley's journey in spirituality began. Is oh, I'm going to this moon circle thing. I'm like, yeah, whatever. At least she's not bugging me right now. Coming back and like burning paper, and I'm like, okay, at least she's doing something. At least she's not like on the couch passed out or whatever. I'm like, cool.
Right.
And then more time goes by, and then the pandemic was a little tough for her. That was a very inward expansion of helping at the hospital. But
Hmm.
after that, and like psychedelics and psychedelic integration and stuff, then I'm like, okay, I'm interested in this moon stuff. Let's check. Because I'd been very science and engineering based.
Right.
But as a kid, like I felt like all these presences and things going on. I didn't fucking tell anybody because I didn't want to get like locked up, or put away or have to talk to some person. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
I'm gonna put all these cool little tools away. I'll just keep those to myself.
Right.
And then now I'm like, oh, I see where all these tools can help society and bring people together. And if I know somebody way over here and way over here that would have never crossed paths, and I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, you too. I'd like you to talk. And then when I see those things happen where they're doing something, that for me feels really rewarding. And so I'm like, okay, how do I do more of that? Like, how do I, because I got kicked out of another networking group because they thought I was too much. I was
Right.
linking people up with too much money. Oh my God. I'm like, okay, we'll talk about money trauma on another podcast, but if you're
Right.
bitching about money in politics and you have somebody that literally links you up with money and then
Right.
you tell them to go away, it's okay. So now I'm,
No, I think that's one of the most amazing, not one of the most amazing things, but that is one of your superpowers, like how you're able to get people together. So if they didn't appreciate that, then they're just on the wrong frequency and you had to turn back to our channel.
yeah,
But I was even thinking the other day, I reached out to you and Shelly. I asked for someone's number or someone's information. You guys gave it to me because I couldn't find it. And then you literally said, do you want me to do a warm connect? And I was like, no, I got this. I'll call her. And this morning, when I was having the issue again, I was like, damn it, if I would have just let him warm connect, I would have already had the appointment. So that is literally, I feel, one of your superpowers. So keep
awesome.
doing you and forget those people who didn't like it. They're just
Oh
not on
no,
the right
like it
frequency.
just, yeah, maybe that wasn't aligned, or maybe the universe was like, yeah, that's cool, but let me redirect you. Why don't
Right,
you start the Holistic Chamber of Commerce in Stockton?
right,
And I was like, oh shit, okay, right. And then
right,
last night I was in a meeting in Sacramento and they want me to help start the Sacramento one because they know that I'm going to follow through and get it done and get it
right.
started, versus some people like I talked to them a few months ago and now they're like, let's just get it done. Let's just get it started.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like you're kind then you're like getting honored for doing the things that you're good at. And it's like, how do we do things that we get paid the most amount of money for the things we're best at and we do in the least amount of time?
Yes.
And when you start writing out like all these little things, like people like buy you lunch or give you stuff or pay money or give you a tip or sign up with your services, and you're like, wow, I'm getting paid to do that? Like
Hmm.
I applied the substitute teach again because I was like, okay, we got a few more business things where we're getting close to rolling out everything. I'll just sub for a little while.
Hmm.
I started filling out the paperwork and they don't want to pay you to do all these 20 hours of trainings. I'm like, my time is better spent like finishing what I'm doing.
Yes.
And then last month, I made way more money than I would have subbing
Right.
just by doing the shit that I
What
like
you
to
love.
do.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit. Okay, now I bring it the next level. Be like,
Right.
now I do it even more of what I want to do. And I
Right.
see you doing this too.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I see Yemaya over there. And it's I showed you a couple things on social media, and then you
Hmm.
like you do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And then
Yeah.
you'll tell me something that I need to
And
do,
then
or
you're
I'll
doing
see,
it.
and then I'm like, I need to work on that. Like I fixed all your email list.
Yes, you did.
And
Thank
then
you.
I'm like, why don't I fix my own fucking email list?
Because it's like the mechanics, right? Like they said the mechanics have the worst cars because they leave their stuff till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, or like the cobbler's kids have no shoes. The guy who teaches how to get your book started and write hasn't finished his. And so now
Yes.
I'm like, okay, how do I break that paradigm? And in the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, this is where people feel supported to do those things. Like, how do you like be a healer and also heal yourself? Like,
Yes.
because there's a lot of healers that end up with like liver and kidney disease. And it's okay, how do we take care of our body too if we're doing
Right.
like energy work for others?
I will say one of the biggest, hugest lessons I ever learned. I used to not want to do SRT, spiritual response therapy, because it would have wiped me out. I used to only be able to hold space for maybe 5 people max in Reiki in a day, right? What I learned is I was saying, I'm the healer, right? I am healing these people. And I was coming from a place of ego, right? And then I don't even know how the shift happened. I don't know if it was a book or what it was, but I had the shift of I'm just the conduit. And so it's if you're charging in your telephone, you have the power source, you have the little block, you have the wire, and then you have the phone, right? So the recipient is the phone. I'm just the wire. And then we have source energy over here. When I started to do healing from that perspective, where I'm not the healer, I've just been blessed with the gift of being the conduit. That was life changing. I don't get tired anymore. I've literally held space for 100 people at events. I've been asked to hold space at different places, and it's been anywhere from 50 to 100 plus people. And I'm not exhausted. In fact, I feel because then now I'm a mirror, I'm actually getting energized. So when people are like, don't you get tired? I'm like, no, there are some exceptions when people have really thick, heavy energy, but for the most part, I'm not feeling that drain anymore. And I used to also, when I was in that space, I was suffering from fatty liver disease. Now, part of that was my diet, part of that was drinking, and part of that was healing from the ego space. I did a lot of plant medicine, I did Cambo, I regenerated my liver. I still eat like crap, but I've changed the ego thing, I've changed the drinking thing. And so now I'm not having those problems. And so I think that's a true testament of learning where you're healing from and what energy you are healing with and from so that you're not getting those drainages anymore.
Oh, I love what you said with all that. I even the other day I was like taking a shower and I was all caught up in my mind. And I'm like, why am I making up these phantom fucking scenarios that don't fucking exist? Because if I
Right.
keep doing that, I'm literally gonna manifest that shit.
Right.
And I was like,
Absolutely.
I
Hmm.
just took a deep breath. I slowed down and I was like, with this water, I'm just washing off everything. And then I started thinking about what you said about like the violet light around me and just
Yes.
like protecting, like letting go and then
Hmm.
protecting me, protecting my energy, like saying yes where I want to say yes, saying no where I want to say no. There's a book called Failing Up, and he said, let your yes and your no equally mean the same amount or whatever.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I was like, all right. And so leaning into that and the emotions of yes and no, and like
Hmm.
just being true and honoring that, or just maybe it's a not yet. Like I like that, but not yet. And so
Right.
like even just all those things you just said of being the conduit for it. It's like removing yourself from the attachment of it or of the attachment of the outcome. And someone recently said, you're not actually the healer. You are reflecting to them what they need in the moment for them to heal themselves.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay, all right. And having a background of medicinal chemistry and also this woo stuff, I'm
Yes.
like, where do they overlap and meet? And that's where I liked what you said about the book, A Happy Pocket Full of Money, about the quantum physics. It's the woo, just the science not explained yet. And so that's
Mm,
been, yeah, that's been like a very, I would say like an edge for me where I'm like going to that edge and I'm seeing how far I can understand of that by bringing back evidence for myself of that. And so blending the science and the woo, like the caduceus for like medicine, got the two
right.
snakes. It's like the science and the woo, the
Yes.
masculine and the feminine. And for me, that's been a like a current exploration for me.
That's awesome. I
My
love that.
clock says 1331, so we got 1331. Like,
Of course we
of
do.
course we do.
Yeah.
Yemaya and I are both very into numbers, so that would be for another podcast too.
Yes. So many. Yeah.
Man, I know we barely even scratched the surface of the things that you're working on. But what would you want to have been asked so far?
I came into this with no expectations, just that we would go with the flow. I think the biggest thing that I would like to that we didn't touch on is in the healing aspect. There's so many modalities that my goal is not necessarily to have everyone come in and pay for my services in that way. My biggest thing right now is mentorship. I want to be able to have people who want to invest in themselves, who want to change their lives, and learn the things that I'm teaching people on a one on one basis so that they can do it for themselves, right? So that they're not reaching out to me on Facebook at 2 o'clock in the morning with an emergency because they can't calm themselves down and then upset with me because I didn't respond at 2 o'clock in the morning because I'm sorry I was sleeping, but rather that they come in, we design a plan specifically for them and their needs, and then they leave with the tools to be able to work themselves through it. So great that they can come in from time to time for a tune-up or Reiki, a cord cutting or whatever, but I'd rather have people come in and learn how to do these things for themselves and empower themselves. So I would say that's probably the only thing I felt like I didn't get to say in all of this. And so right now my mentorship packages are really where my focus is, trying to get that out there and getting people to know about those.
Yeah, I know you recently did sign up a few mentees with you.
Yes.
And that's exciting. So basically, you have some kind of one-on-one, like more service work, and then you have the mentor stuff where they might have some of those services too to break old habits or cord cutting or whatever, and then they know how to use the cord cutting for themselves.
Yes, and they get recordings, and they get, depending on the level of package, right? Depends on how often they meet with me. But for example, the very first person that signed up, she was coming regularly for things like Reiki, tarot for guidance, even though I would say, I don't think you should come. You know what you're doing. I'm the worst. I am the worst. I'm the biggest downseller of my products. So I'm like, you were just here 2 weeks ago. I don't really think that. Like your inner compass. No, no, I need to come. I need to come. Okay. And so part of it was just that she would get anxiety before tests. She would get really in her head. She would get overwhelmed just with certain conversations and relationships. And so what we did through the mentorship program was, one, we did hypnotherapy, which she was allowed to record and take with her and listen over and over. So now she has a calming mechanism and finished actually her program. And she literally said, I don't wake up anxious anymore. I don't wake up in my head anymore. And it's because she literally learned the tools that I would normally just give you in a 30-minute session or a 1 hour session. But now she has the backstory to understand how it works beyond just the session. And so, yeah, so I'm having a lot of success with the mentees.
Yeah, I was a teacher before on this spiritual entrepreneurship endeavor.
Yes.
And what I really liked, like science and chemistry was like the commonality of what we talked about in class. But in my mind, it was really all kinds of other things like how do you process information? How do you interact with your peers? How do you do teamwork? How do you do individual work? What do you do when things come up that you don't like? Like, how do you communicate that? And that's where, in that capacity, where you helping kids, now as an adult, you're helping other adults. And so it's
Yes.
like, okay, here's some basics. Here, I'm going to do it for you. Now we're going to do it together. Now you're going to hold yourself. And when they hold themselves, it's wow.
Right.
It's so rewarding, right? You're like, yay, they did it. So at
Right.
2 a.m., they might still text you and be like, hey, something came up and I used my tools from my toolbox that you showed me and I worked through it and have a great day. That's
Right.
a much different text to wake up to than I need to talk to you this second.
Right.
You're
Yes.
like, whoa, okay. How do we teach you to be aware of your own nervous system so that you can tap back into your body and feel at ease? Because in our modern living, we get hit with texts all day long or calls all day long or emails, and it's like saber-toothed tiger every single time. And your
Right.
body, your brain makes a chemistry shit show that your body gets addicted to. And then eventually you can't hold that. And so then it's the 2 a.m. panic attack of I
Right.
need to talk to you right now. And whoa, 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 let's work on this.
And
And
once upon a time, my dumbass would respond. I'd be like, oh my God, they're in crisis. Let me. And now I'm like, no, boundaries. I have a mentorship program. Now, do I sometimes still give in? Sure, I'm human. Or depending on the situation. But I literally before would be like, oh my gosh, oh my, no, I don't respond to that anymore. That's your journey. And I'm sorry, I can help you through that, but we're going to do it a different way.
yeah, or like sometimes like it's good for them to sit in it, like knowing that
Right.
you're around. Hey, thanks for the text. Like I see you're talking to me. That's a great start. Like bust out the tools from the toolbox. Like maybe start with here's the meditation. I think our society often triggers people into the triangle trap of the villain, the victim, and the victor.
Yeah.
When you're like, oh my God, this is happening to me,
Right.
victim. Then they're looking to you as the victor to like save them. And then there's like some issue that's the villain. And then that a lot of people spin around in that all the time. And the fuel for that is just like a rotary engine of just the fuel just keeps getting put in. And it's like, how do you stop that?
Especially when if you're not responding how they want, then you become the villain, right?
Right? And then sometimes they're the villain or the projected villain, and it's wait, hold on. We can literally
Right.
stop this whole spinning triangle if we just get in tune with our body. So like you have several different meditations available. You have several different like cord cutting ceremonies like that you already have pre-recorded too,
Yes.
right? So it's if people that are your mentees know where to look, they can hold themselves. And so then that feels great for them and for you.
Yes. And I remember about 3 years ago, I actually almost stopped doing healing stuff because I was getting really frustrated that I felt like people weren't progressing, right? They were still stuck in their story, stuck in their cycle. And so I had to scale back. And I was like, what am I doing this for? People don't really want to heal. Da, da. And then finally, I had to take a step back and say, okay, where am I mirroring this? Or what am I doing that I could do better? What can I change? And so one of the things I started saying was, Spirit, please bring me people who are serious about making a change in their life. And so some people just exited out. I just trusted the process. The other thing was that now I ask literally on the intake sheet, how committed are you to this process? And if they're not at least a 5, then we're having a serious conversation. Or I know I may never see them again. And that's okay because I don't want to waste people's time and money or my time. I want to be able to see them through the process.
Yeah, I think those intake forms are great. If somebody doesn't want to fill out an intake form, it's why, what's there? What are you willing to This even comes up with the hair follicle test stuff. It's a 36-page report. It's a lot of information. And it's even for me who's sciencey and data driven, I felt a little overwhelmed. And I'm like, I even noticed myself in a trauma response of reading it super fast so I could
Mm,
get it over with. And I'm like, this is literally looking at it and being like, oh, I see the data. Okay. what's one thing I could do today that would help with that?
Mm,
And that's just the tools of learning and just moving through your own human life experience.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a thought and then I lost it. I used to do this thing where I would just keep talking until I
Uh-huh.
remember it again, but I've tried to stop that.
I'll give you a moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I thought of something else.
All right, moving on.
I love the transition that you do. You're like talking about something and then you're like, however, and then you're like,
However,
yeah. Because every time I read, however, now I read it in Yemaya voice.
oh, how funny. I didn't even realize I do that. So now I'm gonna
No,
be more hyper
no,
aware.
no, don't. Just keep doing your thing. But that's something that like I like because I'm like, oh, however, and it's just a quick pivot. And that's
Mhm.
part of the nerve system regulation is can you handle changes? And if you don't want to handle changes, then go play predictable. Go to work, get paid every other Friday, do your thing. Great. But if you want to push the limit and you want to learn and you want to be mentored and you want to do the next thing and be able to regulate your nervous system, that's what your offer is all about, is
Yes,
helping people like get calibrated and do that so they can go to the edge of something that doesn't feel safe at the moment,
right.
but know that that they can hold themselves to that next step. And that's where you're like, man, you are you gonna jump across this or what? Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we were talking at book club how when I think back of some of the things where, just being a single mom and what I felt were my limitations, having to have a secure job, but there's no security in anything. You can get laid off, fired at any time. And so just the autonomy of I joke sometimes where people are like, "Oh, can you do this?" And I'm like, "Let me ask my boss." And I'm like, "Boss, can I have this day off?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, you can." Or are you sure? Do I need to cover? No, you're good. When I joke, but it's so freeing to have that autonomy. Is it also stressful sometimes? Sure. But putting those things in place that I teach, really walking that walk has really helped. Or before I was really good at talking the talk. I wasn't always walking the walk. And now I feel where I'm finally in a space where I'm doing it all full circle. And again, I'm human. I have my little things here and there, but I'm definitely learning to just surrender to spirit and doing what I love, doing the things I'm passionate about. You were there. I had a meltdown one day. I had a great, I think it was my only first session. I think it was the one session that I had done so far with my mentee. And it was so freaking rewarding. She was in such bliss and I was so happy to help. And it was just so fucking rewarding that the next day when being the boss in another area was it still felt very job like that I had a complete meltdown. And I just decided to let it go and change that. And I don't want to really go deep into that, but you were there for it. And so that taught me that it's true. When you follow your passion, everything just falls into place.
Yeah, and like said, I love that story too. I'm so curious how video AI clips up this all into reels because
Oh, I know, huh?
I'm
It will.
curious what moments the AI was gonna pick out of here of what you're saying or what I'm saying.
It will be interesting.
So Jennifer of the group too, she said there's 11 weeks left of this year.
Mm,
And I was like, because I remember back in January we did the like Oracle card, tarot card journal,
yes.
what each month might look like. And I'm like, okay, we all got to get together and just see where we're at right now and honor our
Yes.
journey.
I need to find that.
Oh, you don't, oh, you know what? Nolan moved rooms. So now we got stuff all over the place. I have no idea where it is now. Okay. Sounds like we all
I
need to
put it on
find
my
it.
calendar. So if I look at my calendar, I had put because I did herbs, what herb I needed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I stuck to that until about I think I stopped in July, but I was actually being really good. So my calendar actually has what I pulled, what the theme was, and what herb.
I took pictures too, but I also did some writing in a little notebook I had.
Yeah.
But it's Jennifer Bond had said Why did we wait till January 1st to do stuff? Why don't we do it right now? That way, when we hit January 1st,
We're going.
we're going. And I want to do that again. Like,
All right, let's plan it.
we should even do another one for the whole group or something of, hey, pull your cards for the last few months of the year and let's ramp it up or something.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, just like imagining what we'll do at the mixer. Like, of course,
Right.
like there'll be like refreshments and different things and people will be there, but like, how do we want it to roll out? And I think that on your trip to Hollywood this weekend, I think you'll have some downloads of what you might like it to be.
Right.
And then I can help with that and I can give you some ideas too.
I already had a vision if people were open. The room, the furthest room up top.
Yeah.
hmm So placing someone inside with their vision and then having a few people who want to support on the outside kind of chanting
Yeah.
and then seeing how that pans out with the inner and outer support of that mechanism.
Nice. It's like on New Year's resolutions where you like get a buddy, but you need more than one buddy. You really need two. So I like what you're
Right.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was either thinking one on each side of it or one at each corner of it.
Nice.
And then I learned something about these new codes. I don't remember the name of the codes, but so I was thinking of writing the codes on the crystals.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It just seems, oh, okay, so let's go a little woo for a second.
Yeah.
This week, we have a full moon. And for me, I like the full moon as a letting go time, like a detox time. I feel my body actually goes through some of that
Mhm.
emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, and all that. Now, next week, the planets and the sun are supposed to be in a way where Earth is in the middle of all of them.
Okay.
And I'm like, so what gravitational energy is going on next week? And so
Oh
now
my
I'm kind of
gosh.
like, but then some people might be like, oh my God, that's scary. But then I'm like, wait, all the moon and the stars are aligned around us.
It's like a smorgasbord. We can pick
Yeah,
whatever we want.
like what are we doing? What do we really want to do? And I feel it's like a time to focus because everything's around
You
like
and that damn word focus.
focus and aligned action.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm like, yeah, like it's fun to play around and it's fun to build things and get things done. And it's
Yes.
like, because if I build too much, I wear my stuff out. If I don't play around, then I don't build. So it's sometimes this is for another podcast. Masculine and feminine energetics, it's like, how can you hold yourself to be
Right.
creative and flow? And if you're normally a very creative person, how do you build some structure so you get the things done that you want to get done?
Right.
Or if you're super structured, how can you play around and have a good time?
Yeah, last week someone said, when Yemaya focuses, and I was instantly like rolling my eyes and thinking about you, thinking about Garen. I was like, whatever. And then someone did my chart. Oh, my Reiki master did my chart because he was curious. And it turned out in all of my chart, the only thing that's feminine is the Pisces part of me.
Oh,
Everything else is masculine. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. So yeah.
interesting.
So
Okay.
to your point of the feminine and masculine, like you said, for another time, but it was very enlightening for me.
Now I got more questions. So this will be to be continued.
Yes, yes,
So I know we're both trying to keep it around an hour.
yes.
Um, so I asked this to Chat GPT, so I'm going to ask it to you.
Okay.
Any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts are just, I'm very excited to be in this collaborative place. I feel a huge shift in the healing community of Stockton. I've been back in Stockton since 2012, and I've seen it ebb and flow where people come together and then they're human and then it comes back together. And so I'm very happy to see it coming back into a place of cohesiveness. And I feel like there's so many more resources and so many more people open to collaborating that I feel like we're just on the precipice of a huge change. And I believe Stockton is going to be on the map as a place where people come to for healing in a very in a bigger scale and a much more magical scale. And I feel like old belief systems are fading away. And I'm just really excited. And I'm glad to partner up with you and every single member of the Holistic Chamber to see all of our visions come to fruition.
Nice. I love that.
Thank you.
I got the chills when you said that too. So
Chills are good. Chills are great.
yeah, it's like your body saying yes.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that either sounds good or yes, that's true or that already happened or happening. All
Right. Yes.
it's like tapping into doing it. And like even right before you said the word precipice, I knew you were gonna say it. And then boom, you said it, and I'm like, yeah.
Yes, we're aligned. Yes.
Like
Yeah.
so, yeah, I like all that. So of course, I'm going to drop links for all the things we're doing, like Stockton Holistic Chamber to go meet up, follow our Instagram for like more updates. You could send me, I know you just did a new link tree, like I could put that
Yes.
there. Maybe you could write a little blurb of your mentorship package, like what benefits they would get. I think we covered most of them here. I could probably even use ChatGPT to pull them out of the transcript. I can do that
Awesome.
if you want. And then that way people can follow you, follow the organization, follow me, and then have everybody come to the next event. I think that's
Yes.
going to be really exciting. On December, we have a venue, Miracle Mile Mixer. I'm working on that. That's a little on the DL still. November, I'm working on that still right now, but I'm like, then I'm also thinking, how do we do a holiday holistic fair for
Mm.
people to just invest in themselves as this year comes to a close? And what are they doing and how are they showing up? And how are they emotionally handling family, mentally, spiritually? How are they setting boundaries, not as a weaponized boundary, but as a communication and seeing all the perspectives? So I'm
Yeah.
very excited to roll all that out. Just for me right now, you can tell it's a little bit in the ethereal zone for me. And I'm like, what does this look like? What does it feel like? What do the community members want to do and all that? So
So homework, let's talk about maybe no, not maybe, homework. At the Holistic Chamber meeting, put on the agenda. Let's lock in a date for anyone who's interested. On a Sunday, we'll get a pop-up going here at the plaza. I can verify with the people around here that it's a good date because I'm sure we all have resources and tools for being around our wonderful, lovely, and amazing family because I'm sure none of us get triggered. But I know I personally have sprays and essential oils and crystals to help with that. And I know other healers have tools too. So let's put that on the agenda.
I love that. Pop up at the plaza. So now,
Pop up at the plaza.
now I'm like, how do we break this in? Well, thanks so much. Any last words or you're good?
I'm good. Thank you again for having
Thank
me.
you.
It's always such a great time having conversation with you. So thank you.
Likewise, usually it's always face to face. This is the first time we're like talking on Zoom, but
I know, I
I'm just
know.
trying to keep like the format just easy for now. Eventually, I'd love to film this stuff in like a studio and hire somebody else to do with all of it. But for now,
Right.
I'm like, let's do it. Let's get the word out. Let's get people going. Let's get people connected. So I appreciate you coming and sharing your story and some of the things you worked on. And just for all of you listening, this is like the tippy tip of the iceberg of all the things under what Yemaya does.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was a hint of something that is upstairs.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I'll end the recording and then we could chat for a few and then I know you gotta go and then I'm filming another one right after this.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.